You know that feeling of constantly trying to keep up? The hair, the face, the body, the clothes, like you're running on a hamster wheel that never stops, and yet letting go can feel almost unthinkable? Well, there's a reason for that. In this episode, we're going to look at where that need to keep up actually comes from, and why loosening your grip can feel so uncomfortable, and how peace and ease becomes possible when you're not living under that constant sense of upkeep. I'm Kristina Bruce, a body, peace, and self-trust coach. I help women release the pressure to fix or control their bodies so they can finally feel at home in themselves. Today's episode is one I've been wanting to talk about for a while because it gets right to the root of why we as women can feel this need to keep up our appearance, and why the idea of letting go can feel so terrifying. We got to start by going back hundreds of years, where women's physical and economic security depended on marriage. So beauty, youth, thinness, and feminine appeal were social currencies that secured real physical safety for women. See, if you looked young, aka fertile, and beautiful, your chance of marriage was higher, and that secured you real physical and economic safety. And for men, having a beautiful wife was a status symbol. It was proof of them having wealth and power. That is what gave men a real sense of safety and security in the culture, was that wealth and power. So much of this drive around appearance for women and wealth and power for men was completely based on survival. For women, this survival need then created this deep cultural conditioning for women that my appearance determines my safety. And the more beautiful I am, the more valuable I am to a man, the more safe I am, which then got equated to this sense of my worthiness and my value comes from my appearance. Because if a man finds me attractive, then I'm going to be more safe. And that's where my value is for my survival. I have to actually be focused on my appearance for safety. So my sense of worth and value and safety and security are all wrapped up in appearance. And even though the laws have changed, women started to vote, they gained financial freedom and independence, that psychological inheritance has stayed. Because these beliefs that women's value and worth is in their appearance is still alive and well today. In fact, when you think about it, all a woman has to be seen is as beautiful, and she automatically has value in our culture, which then continues to keep the focus on appearance for women. Because although we may know intellectually that our worth and value doesn't come from our appearance, it's still very much a part of us. There is that very old survival instinct that says my worth and safety and value is dependent upon my appearance. And then we see it reinforced in the culture, so we think, well, this must be true. And industries profit massively from this. Beauty, anti-aging, diet, fitness industry, cosmetic procedures, they have great incentive to keep us focused on how we look. And we also end up reinforcing this amongst each other. Not because women are shallow or mean or judgmental, but because we've all been conditioned the same. So this shows up like we compliment each other about weight loss. We talk about looking good for your age. We bond over diets and procedures and fixing ourselves. So without realizing it, we continue to participate in this culture that keeps up this appearance-based pressure for women, for ourselves and each other. And again, not out of malice, but out of conditioning. And if we really were to look at it, I mean, let's face it, this constant grooming, dieting, monitoring, and correcting is draining. I think a lot of women secretly feel kind of resentful and tired and trapped in it, but they're scared to stop because there's this fear. If I let myself gain weight or age, people will judge me. If I don't keep up, I'm going to lose my sense of worthiness and value. And if I let go, I'm giving up. But this control, it becomes its own prison. And the real loss is how much of our life gets put on hold when appearance management ends up taking up so much space in our lives. So I think it really behooves us to ask the question, is this really what matters most? We pour so much time, energy, and emotion into managing our appearance, probably more than we even realize because it's just so normal and it's part of our everyday lives. We don't even realize how much mental energy, time, space, money is put into managing our appearance because it's just become normal. And yet, when someone we love dies, what do we remember them for? It's not their wrinkle-free skin. It's not their weight. It's not their perfectly styled hair. We remember their laugh, their presence, their warmth, and the way that they made us feel. And yet, appearance is still given so much value, but it's really the least valuable part of who we are. So you may start to be reflecting on this and thinking, man, I really do spend a lot of time focusing on something that's not actually that important. But I need to say this. It makes sense why we focus so much on it. It's not because we're shallow. It's because of that real survival instinct, that old survival instinct that has run through the generations that has said, if you don't look beautiful, if you don't look young, your survival is at stake. So when we've learned through the generations, it's running in our cells, it's running in our DNA that looking less than might not be safe, that it could mean being judged, overlooked, or devalued, staying focused on how you look can feel like a really smart strategy. And we see this playing out in the broader culture. There are women who, by all accounts, are super successful, and yet they still really heavily invest in their appearance. And the commentary about them often tends to be about their appearance first, not what they've done, not their talent, not what they've produced. Sure, that part of the conversation as well. But there's always usually a mention of their appearance. So we see this commentary happening. We see it through the way that our mothers and our grandmothers have talked about their bodies, have trained us to think about ours. Again, not because there's any malice in it, but because it comes from this really deep survival instinct. But then these beliefs get planted within ourselves. We start to make this meaning. If I'm not beautiful, I'll lose value. If I age, I'll become invisible. If I soften or gain weight, I'll lose respect. If I let go of control, I'll fall apart. If I'm not maintaining, I'm failing. These are not personal flaws. They are inherited programming. They are beliefs and meaning that were made out of this fearful survival instinct. Now, you might be thinking, but it's true. As women age, we do become more invisible, or people don't respect me as much if I gain weight. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that or deny that because those things absolutely can happen. It is also what keeps reinforcing this drive to want to continue to look young or manage our weight because we know and we see the way that people comment on other people who look older or gain weight. It's not pleasant. But what I'm going to say here really cuts to the truth of this. Those desires to not be judged come from this survival instinct, and it comes from us needing or wanting the approval of others in order to feel okay about ourselves. That survival instinct also comes back to if I don't belong, if I don't fit in with the tribe, whatever the standard is, I will be kicked out. And being kicked out of the tribe meant certain death. So again, there's a real instinct happening here, but that's not today. Our society has evolved beyond that, but our survival nervous system and our brain hasn't caught up yet. And the truth is that in order to feel okay about ourselves and live in alignment with our truth, with what really matters to us, with our soul's desire, it takes courage because we have to be able to move beyond that fearful instinct that is coming up in our nervous system. And we also need to be able to really know and sense our value from within, not based on the opinion of others. Hey there, I wanted to pop in for a moment and say that if what you're hearing here resonates and you're ready to move from understanding this work to actually feeling more peace in your body, I'd love to support you. I offer a 1-hour introductory coaching session. This is a focused space where we get right to the core of what's been keeping you stuck and create a real shift in how you're relating to your body. If you're ready for relief from body thoughts, the scale, and constant self-judgment, this is your time. You can book your introductory session using the link below. I can't wait to support you in feeling more peace in your body starting now. And we may think, I don't really care what other people think, but then you have to start to look at what are the beliefs that come up for you when you think about quote unquote letting go. But we have to see that we've also really been conditioned to seek the approval and acceptance of other people. So that is at play as well. Because if you've been on any sort of journey in your life, any sort of deeper work, following your true calling or your true path, you know that you could have done everything right, got all the approval and praise from other people, and yet still didn't feel good enough within yourself. So it can't be that the judgment or approval from other people really actually makes that much of a difference of how you feel in yourself. It really matters of what are the beliefs that you are carrying within that you are believing yourself. And those beliefs often are subconscious, not necessarily even aware that they're there running the show and motivating the behaviors that we do. Because while it's true that somebody could negatively judge you for your body size or make an assumption, people are making assumptions about people all the time for all kinds of reasons that don't have anything to do with appearance. So people are going to judge and make assumptions about us full stop. But when we believe that I'm less than because I'm bigger or I'm aging and so now I lose my value, that actually affects how we show up in our lives. It affects how we interact with other people. It affects what we believe is possible. And that actually can have an impact on how other people treat us. Because if we're not showing up with confidence ourselves, that can sometimes be felt by other people, even if it's, again, subconscious. We're not even aware of it. But you know this. You can just feel when somebody is more confident. You can get a sense of it. And people can show their confidence and their value and worth in all bodies and all ages and all shapes and sizes. So we can't keep looking to how are other people going to perceive us. We have to turn it within and say, I need to root out within myself these beliefs that tell me I'm not good enough or I'm not valuable, these old, outdated survival instincts in order to be free from that prison of managing our appearance and not allowing ourselves to age and be true to ourselves. Because it really comes down to the beliefs and the meaning that we have made about what our appearance means about ourselves, about other people, about our place in the world. So it could be beliefs like, I'm only valuable when I'm pleasing to others, or I need to look put together in order to be respected. Maybe it's my appearance determines how people treat me, or I feel safer when I fit the beauty ideal. Now, again, these beliefs aren't rooted in nothing. They're obviously there because in some way we may have seen that play out. So again, this is not to say that nobody will ever disrespect you or see less than you because you've gained weight. That very well could happen, but that has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. It has to do with their viewpoint that they're projecting on you. And again, people are going to judge us no matter what. So it comes down to if the pain of trying to keep up your appearance and manage your weight starts to become stronger than the pain of not living authentic and true to yourself, then that's when you really want to start looking at it. Because I will say you are stronger than your survival instinct. While it can take over you and it can feel like fear and it can bring you down and it's going to tell you, no, you have to be this way, or it really is true that you don't have value. If a thought hurts, if it feels painful, that's actually not true. That's actually a signal that we have started to believe something that was never true about ourselves. But we've taken it on to mean to think that it's true, but it's not. And then it ends up holding us back from living more peacefully, more ease, and more alignment with ourselves. So we got the fear that comes up that convinces us that no, it really is your appearance. You really do need to change it in order to be safe, but that's false. That's an old survival pattern that we have now outgrown because we're actually safe now, but we haven't actually outgrown it in our mind and in our nervous system. And that's the work that needs to be done. The real peace and sense of safety and ease doesn't actually come from meeting these standards, from getting the approval from others, because it's conditional. It means you have to stay within this box that's always moving, or the bar is always raising, because your body is going to be changing and your life is going to be changing. So what you may have been doing in your 20s is not what you're able to do in your 40s, and yet we're still under the impression that we have to meet the standard of what our life looked like in our 20s. Or maybe it's vice versa, whatever it may be. But meeting the standards gives us this false sense of safety because we actually are safe, but it's reacting from the old survival pattern of the past. And we need to be able to learn how to grow out of that. So the direction now is to actually go inward and notice, where can I get my own approval? Not conditional approval based on the beliefs that I've now actually come to adopt for myself and hold myself up against. That's hurting you. But where can I get my own unconditional approval and start to live true to myself, where then I can really start to hear the voice of my soul, of my deeper wisdom? What is it that it's really calling me to do in my life that's being held back because time, attention, and energy is being spent on something that's not supporting it, on something that I think I have to do, like manage my appearance or my weight, but it's actually taking away energy from what I really want to be doing. When we let go of these beliefs and this conditioning, that's actually where peace and ease and self-acceptance and confidence comes from, because those feelings are innate within you right now. Just look at any 2 or 3-year-old and they have confidence, usually in abundance. They are joyful. They're not putting themselves down. They don't think they look bad because they haven't learned that yet. That's been the cultural conditioning. Unfortunately, many of them will pick it up, but if you're watching this or listening to this, there's a good chance that you are here right now as a cycle breaker. You are breaking that chain of those pressures that you've experienced for yourself that you don't want to live by anymore. So the key first is to realize that I am safe. I really am safe. The only thing that's happening is the thoughts and the beliefs and the story that my mind is telling me in this moment about myself, about my body, about my safety. If you look right here, right now, you are safe. But then a thought will come in and say, ooh, but what about this? And you gain 2 pounds or whatever. And that feels dangerous. It's not dangerous. It's whatever the story that our mind is telling us. And that's where we need to look. So how we begin to loosen this grip of this control, of this managing, is we have to bring to the surface these beliefs. We need to see that the way that we've been trained to view ourselves and our value and appearance is inherited. It is not inherent. And we need to be able to question that. So we got to look at those beliefs that I lose value when I age and start asking, is that true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? Just take a look around and see, where are there people in your life or in the culture that are older who haven't lost their value? They exist. They may not be as in abundance for women right now because we've been judging and valuing women on their appearance, but that can change as soon as we start to shift what we value. It has to start with ourselves. We can't expect the culture and other people to start valuing us as we age if we don't value ourselves as we age. We are the culture. So more and more of us that start to let go of judging ourselves by our appearance, of making it think that that's what matters most, we shift the culture. And now all of a sudden, we're going to start to see more women who are valued because we are valuing ourselves and we are choosing to value other women, not for their age, but for what they bring, their wisdom, their maturity, their strength, and everything else that comes in aging. And we know in aging is another story that we have a whole thing, especially in Western culture, of tending not to value people in their age. That's a conversation for another time, but it really starts within ourselves. We have to be able to value it. So we need to be able to bring up what are those beliefs and ideas? And how we know is if we feel that fear coming up, that is actually indicating to us that we have a belief that is based in survival that is not actually true. We need to be able to see that I am safe when it comes up, question those fears, question those beliefs, and then start to really get clear on what is it that I want to value about myself? How do I want to be? What is it that I'm yearning for to feel in my body and in myself, and focus on that? Now, nervous system regulation is going to be a part of this. So we actually really need to be able to have practices to calm our nervous system down when that fear ramps up. So instead of thinking, ooh, I got to run now and start the next diet, or maybe I really do need to get that procedure in order to feel okay, we actually need to stop and calm our nervous systems first. So whether it's doing breathing exercises, whether it's listening to some music, whatever that may be for you, there are lots of different practices out there. We want to do that first. And then before we decide, yeah, I really do need to spend $10,000 on that procedure or whatever it might be, it may be worth to do a little bit of work to dig deeper into what are the beliefs underneath that. That is what I specialize in when I work with clients, is let's get to the root and find out what's really going on underneath the surface and meet it at that level where that belief got formed, so we can start to release it and see it in a different way. And when you start to release those beliefs at the moment that they were formed, then everything starts to shift. It lets go, and now you just can't see things in the same way anymore. So it's like we got to pull out these weeds. The beliefs themselves are the weeds. Trying to manage our appearance in order to abide by the belief is like cutting the head off of the dandelion. You're going to feel better for a little while, but then that dandelion head is going to grow back, and you're constantly needing to manage it. And as we know, eventually you'll get to a point where you're not going to be able to do that anymore. So what we want to do instead, if you really truly want relief, empowerment, confidence, is you've got to pull it out from the root. And that actually is in the mental and emotional piece, not in changing your body and losing X number of pounds and going wrinkle-free. I also want to say that this isn't an assault on beauty. It's, if you love doing your nails and it makes you feel good, great. What we're looking at is, do I need my nails to get done in order for me to feel okay? That's the part that we want to look at, because that's the part where we can see, yes, my sense of worth and value really is tied to my appearance. It's also, if you are someone who has spent most of your life really focusing on that, again, I hope that what you're hearing in this, it's not that I'm saying you were wrong or vain or whatever. It's coming from a very real place. It's coming from when we start to attach our sense of worth and value to our appearance. And it is absolutely going to make sense and feel very necessary that we spend a lot of time in that. But if we are identified with that, and we know that as we age, we're going to go away from the beauty standard, and you don't want to keep living that way anymore, you want to be able to just relax and feel at peace, then I hope you're seeing here that it's really possible to be able to free yourself from this. You don't have to keep being driven by those very old survival fears about your appearance. You are allowed to just be, you're allowed to rest, you're allowed to age, and still totally know your inherent worth and value. And to me, any shift away from trying to abide so tightly to the cultural beauty standard doesn't say anything less about your worth. If anything, it says more, because it tells me you have courage. It's not easy to go against or to walk in the opposite direction of what almost everybody else around you is doing. There's a confidence and a courage it takes to step off of that appearance managing hamster wheel in a culture that very much wants you to stay on it. And again, sometimes our minds, when hearing this message, can go to the opposite extreme. Oh, does that mean I don't care about my appearance anymore? I'm just going to roll out of bed in the morning and wear my pajamas all day. Of course not. That's not at all what I'm saying. It can feel really good to put time into combing your hair and doing it and maybe putting on some makeup that feels good. There is nothing wrong with that. And again, the point that I'm really honing in on here is on a deep level when we think, I'm not good enough, I'm less than. If I did go makeup free out of the house, then I wouldn't be good enough. If I gained X number of pounds, then now I'm less than. That is not true. That's the part that we want to look at if you feel like that's holding you back and you want to be free from it. Because again, meeting those expectations will make you feel better for a while, but that is always temporary. You can never truly feel safe if you need a condition in order to be met, because that condition is conditional. It's going to come and it's going to go. And so then what happens if you stop meeting it? That's the point that I'm trying to make here, is that if you need to look a certain way, if you need to be a certain size in order to feel okay, you're trapped. And what I'm offering here is that there is a way out of that, where you can live the rest of your life with a lot more ease, a lot more worth, a lot more fun, joy, and confidence and lightness, the way that children are, because that is actually really and truly our natural state. We just learned all of this old survival-based ideas about worth and value in our appearance, and we can start to let them go now. So if something in this is really landing for you, and you're really feeling like, I don't want to keep living under these expectations that the culture put on me that I've now adopted and put in myself, but letting go still feels pretty scary. You don't have to do that alone. I know without support, it's easy to keep defaulting back to the same patterns. Managing and monitoring. I know how exhausting that is. And this is the very work that I do with women. So I invite you to book an introductory coaching session where we can explore, what is it that feels so hard about loosening the grip? What comes up? We can dig into those beliefs and start to pull them out by the weeds instead of cutting the dandelion off at the head. There's a link in the description below. If this is speaking to you, you can go ahead and book. So I hope that this episode opened up something in you, made you think about it in a different way, and really give you the feeling of possibility and knowing that you can feel free at any stage of your life, feeling confident, worthy, and valuable, because your value was never in how you look. Thanks for listening. Until next time.